Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace of South Carolina. Congresswoman, earlier this week you tweeted, quote, "I'm voting no on the debt ceiling debacle because playing the D.C. game isn't worth selling out our kids and grandkids," unquote. You just did vote yes on the rule which allows this to come to the floor of the House. Why did you vote yes on the rule if you oppose the legislation?
Well, the rule is a procedural motion, and what we saw just now on the floor, it didn't really matter if you voted yes or no. The votes were there, and there were negotiations made with Democrats for their vote for yes to get it through. They were promised earmarks that they'll now receive for their yes vote on the rule. So it didn't really matter from my perspective whether I was a yes or a no, but I'll be voting no tonight because my vote's with the American people.
So included in the debt ceiling bill are several provisions that Republicans passed in the House but were not able to get through the Democratic Senate, to say nothing of the White House. It includes reducing spending for the IRS, rescinding COVID funding, work requirements for food stamp recipients, resuming student loan payments. If the debt ceiling bill does pass, those things will be passed by a Democratic-controlled Senate and signed into law by the Democratic president. What do you say when people, your colleagues who are voting yes, say, take the win, this is good for us?
This is not a win for the American people. Republicans got nothing for this. In fact, the debt ceiling bill doesn't even have an actual limit on the debt ceiling. We'll be signing into law, making it plain that the COVID level, the highest historic level of spending we've had in this country, around $6 trillion, we're signing that into law to say that is baseline spending going forward. And the work requirements that you mentioned, come to find out, it actually expands government welfare, not shrink it. The IRS stuff, that's $1.4 billion cut. That's nothing. That's page 53, line 11. I've read this bill. I've read it multiple times over. It's not the spending cut bill that we were promised or that is being told that's the truth right now. And I'm here to set the record straight that this is not a win for the American people. It's going to add $4 trillion of debt over the next 2 years. This is going to be an enormous problem. I think it'll make inflation worse. And long term, we're going to have a lot of problems trying to rein back this out of control spending that'll pass out of the House tonight.
Punchbowl's Jake Sherman reported that last night behind closed doors in a meeting with Republican leadership, Congressman Ralph Norman, who's also a no on the bill, he said to the leadership, quote, "Y'all did the best you could and probably better than I could," unquote. Do you disagree with him?
I wasn't there, so I can't verify the truthfulness of that statement. I would argue I was a reluctant yes the first time because I felt we need to have a more conservative bill come out of the House, because when you are negotiating, you have to give up concessions. You have to build consensus. But really, this is nothing here. Progressives got every single one of their projects funded. It takes one person, the director of OMB, to waive authority to be able to spend money to advance Biden's progressive agenda. We didn't get hardly anything out of this, and least of all spending cuts. And we're setting into law record high levels of spending started during the COVID emergency. And even President Biden said a few weeks ago, COVID is over. There's no reason to be spending at levels this high and to put that into law.
So your Republican colleague, Congressman Ken Buck, told CNN's Jim Sciutto a few hours ago that Speaker McCarthy should be, quote, concerned about his leadership, and that there will be discussions next week about Republicans offering a motion to vacate, to remove him from his speakership. Would you support that move, and what do you make of that?
Well, I'm not a member of the Freedom Caucus, so I can't speak for them or what their strategy might be. I'm a caucus of one, but I do believe discussion about vacating the chair is premature at this juncture, and don't believe that it'll have any legs at this moment.
All right. A caucus of one, Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace of South Carolina. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Jake.
From